I should be hearing this. I can't hear this at all. So it's me. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm working on it. So it's me. I'm the problem. I am the problem, folks. But I'm going to figure out why I'm the problem. You see. There we go. Okay. Holy F-balls. Oh my goodness. Well, now what did I do? I made it really loud and then I made it not loud at all. Oh, okay. Okay. Why is it doing this?
There.
Okay. Okay, now let's bring you in. All right, let's see. Can we hear you this time?
Hopefully you can.
Yes!
Sweet. Awesome.
Yes! All right, cool. So, hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to Wednesday night's paranormal party. Pair with the abnormal, the pair with the normal podcast. I am your host, Bork Snorkel Butt, and I am here today with Mr. John Covey.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. And first and foremost, sharing is, of course, caring. So I'm going to ask everybody find the podcast on Facebook Live or on YouTube and share that Bioche. That's what I'm going to do right now.
That is what I'm currently doing as well.
I'm going to go, wow, look at these two sexy dudes. I'm going to share this. Sure. Now we can go to El Chatteroonie. Hello, Amanda.
We are good.
Amanda Tashner says, hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Kathy, hello. So today we will have no MaryLynn Bast, as from what I understand, she had to take her dog to the vet. The hair on its testicles got gum stuck in it, and it's too hard for her to shave it out herself. It's a very sensitive area. So she had to go to see a professional, and that's currently what she's doing. Don't chew gum while you have dogs, folks. This is what happens. John, tell me a little bit about yourself, buddy.
Well, hello to everyone who's watching tonight. Again, feel free to share the video out if you haven't done so already. And always support Para with the Normal and Stream Beacon TV as well with their show. So a little bit about me. For those who don't know, my name is John Covey. I am an international psychic medium and paranormal investigator. I have been doing this since I was 10 years old. I had co-founded with my mom back in the day, back in 2010, the Junior Investigating Paranormal Society, which is the first national paranormal organization that was created and ran by teens at the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we've been all throughout the East Coast, really, especially the Northeast, because I'm in Pennsylvania here. Um, but we have done that. We've been to some really cool locations over the years. And I get my gifts from my mother as well. She's also very intuitive too. But
Nice.
together we really formed this cohesive unit to where we work really well on investigations because of her gifts as well as mine, and combining them together. It makes it really an interesting experience too. Um, in addition to that, I have been on a couple of different, smaller TV shows, as well as on a lot of different, podcasts, such as this awesome one here, over the
Ooh.
years. And I like to share my mission of kind of bringing the humility and a more human aspect, kind of taking the quote unquote woo woo out of the, metaphysical realm of investigating. So
Okay.
I like to bring that to the table, if you will.
I like that. So
Yeah.
when you were 10 is when you decided, and it's Covey,
Yes, you're one of the very
not
few that
Covey.
actually pronounced it correctly.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So let me start with this. So you're 10,
Mhm.
and you were just was your mom already like interested, and that's why when you were 10 you were like, yeah, I'm gonna jump into this, or were you like, Mom, check this out, and then she was like, by the way, I happen to also use the Force. Like, how did
There
that
you
work
go.
out?
Well, so I will say this: growing up, and people who know me will say that I was a peculiar child. I loved horror movies ever since I
Ooh.
was like 5 years old. M. Night Shyamalan movies were
Okay.
my uh, cup of tea. But as far as it goes with her, she used to have intuitive experiences when she was young as well, but she never really was in tune with that sort of thing to understand it, wanting to grow it because she didn't know. And she didn't want to be the oddball or the weirdo of the group, which little do we know, hey, we're all weirdos. But
Right?
it wasn't until I came along where I started having very similar experiences that she did, to where she's more of a hearer, a clairaudient, and a clair cognizant, which
What
is
up,
clear
Symphony?
knowing and such. Hello. Um,
And what are
but
you? You're a clear what?
I'm a clairvoyant and a clairsentient, so a seer and a
Okay.
feeler. So
Seer and a feeler. Okay.
yes. Um,
I got in trouble
and
for being a feeler once.
oh, really?
Yeah.
With or without the
Yeah.
bubble gum?
I'm still not allowed within 500 feet of a Victoria's Secret, but continue.
Okay. No, but it was. I had an experience in my childhood home that really sparked my interest with the intuitive side, the paranormal, the metaphysical, if you will. And it wasn't until I said to her the one day, we were actually coincidentally sitting down watching an episode of Ghost Hunters, the original Ghost Hunters back in the day.
Back in the
And
day.
right. And I had said, hey, again, what 10-year-old would want to go and do this? But I was like, hey, why don't we go try to do something like that?
Yeah.
And of course, she was there. I was 8 years old when I had my experience, and the concept of how things happened with that experience, and wanting to understand why and it occurred, made me later on, 2 years later, want to go look back on it and question, okay, is this actually what's going on? What am I feeling? What am I seeing? What am I experiencing? And then, could we do this on investigation? And so that's when we decided to do that. So it was kind of we both kind of had the same similar experiences growing up,
Yeah.
having a lot of different experiences, but similar aspects. And then it wasn't until, when I came along where we were like, hey, this is a real thing that we could be doing. So
That's pretty awesome. So if you were really big into like the M. Night Shyamalan movies and the horror, I mean, now that you're into it, do you feel like are you waiting psychically, I guess, for that big twist? You know what I mean?
there have been times like last year, for example, we were at, no, it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago. We were at West Virginia
Make up your
Penitentiary.
damn mind.
I know. It was at West Virginia Penitentiary, and I had an experience where I was like, okay, I've been here, once before. I kind of have a good idea as far as what's going on. And it threw me for a loop. I was not
Wow.
expecting some of the energies there compared to, from being there before. But, it's one of those locations, if you've never been to, where it will definitely, it brings out different personalities, if you will, of the building.
Oh, oh yeah. And I try to. It's something that I never thought about. And as I guess we grow, both like in age and with experience, and just metaphysically, you start to realize that some locations, I would say the majority, really, there's an ebb and flow, right? Like there are
Right.
times when they're stronger, there are times when they're weaker. So you could go to the same place multiple times and have different experiences, literally just based on where the moon is. I mean, for all we
Right.
know. I mean, we don't really know what psychically feeds them or gives them energy, other than there's thoughts that maybe we do. There's thoughts that maybe like water, precipitation can act as a way to current energy to them. The
Hmm.
Japanese are very big on saying water is uh, heavily involved in a lot of their, I guess, their philosophies when it comes to the afterlife, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What else do you think plays into that?
I think a huge part of what we experience, and it's not even so much so specific to a location. I think it really comes down to who is there on the investigation themselves. Because if you don't think now, okay, you know, taking the woo out of it, as a medium or even as a psychic, you're picking up and you're reading energies not just on the location, but you're also picking up on energies and or loved ones with people who were there with you, investigating with you. And so I think a big aspect of
Sure.
it too is people bring energy with them to the locations. And I think that also kind of coincides, with it too. Because I mean, think about it this way. Someone who comes with more of a scientific approach will not necessarily experience on a deeper level, on a more emotional or even physical level,
Yeah.
as a sensitive. Not saying that they can't, but it just depends on the energy that they bring to the table. And I think that has a huge part in it overall, no
Yeah.
matter what location you go to.
So this is another interesting question I'll throw at you. Being now that you've talked about how, from a scientific approach,
Mhm.
how that can affect or even limit the information that you experience, right? Your
Yeah.
experience, what you take in. What about religion, right? Because some would say if you're religious, maybe you'll have more of an experience, but what if that's also kind of the juxtaposition where your experience will still only be limited by what you're allowed based on your religious beliefs?
Hmm. And it's a good point because think about it like this: your belief is basically an intention. So you are intending to believe that no matter what religion you follow, no matter what you believe in, you're carrying that with you, and so that's that energy with it too. And depending on what you believe, your perception will also dictate what can potentially go on and what you experience. So I think there's so many
Hmm.
different aspects where one's belief in a higher power or one's fear in the unknown or however their type of
Yeah.
perception is of the genre of paranormal research. I think that really does coincide, and it brings up a good point, especially because you have Catholicism, you have different you go from one extreme of that to even to like paganism or to Wicca. They all come with a different approach
Yeah.
and different willingness or acceptance, I guess, of the spiritual realm. So I think it
Yeah.
really makes a good point.
Yeah. And I think there's also that you had brought up uh, how you feel going in, right? Like some people get into, I want to paranormal investigate because I want to be scared, right?
Yeah.
I want to feel the fear of something attaching to me. I want that fear of something being down the hall coming at me. And then you have people that do it because they say, well, I just really want to know. I just really want to know what's on the other side. I just really want to see if there is something that I can interact with.
Yeah.
And then you've got people that are just, in a way, desperate for connection, right? And you get people, maybe they can't connect with normal society. So here's this whole other untamed realm in which they get to go and have those type of experiences. And then you get people that, and you'll see it, you get the Zach Baggins of the world, right? Where they want to confront, they want to antagonize, and they want to do it for your entertainment, right? So where do you fit in?
For me, I like to, and this is something that a friend of mine actually said, she got, I don't want to say this, she's a very, very psychic type of investigator. She really depends on and relies on her perception on what she experiences on a feeling level. For me, ever since I started this sort of thing, because I started out investigating more so on a scientific level, I didn't necessarily begin working with my intuition on an investigation until probably about like 2015, 2016, somewhere in there.
Oh, okay. So like it's really only been the last 10 years, last decade.
Yeah. And I think that understanding both sides, I think I'm kind of in the middle. And that's a weird way to say it. And it's kind of a vague sort of way. But there are times where I rely heavily on, okay, we got to use these pieces of equipment, as far as, if you use, a digital voice recorder, just as an example. If you rely on audio of that and you break it down and you look into it and you do that sort of experimental work with that, and let's say you also coincide, okay, this is what I'm getting intuitively. That's kind of how I fit in. A lot of times when we've had, residential cases and, more public investigations too, what I have always liked to do was to do the quote unquote, like psychic sweep, if you will, of said location.
I hate cleaning.
I know, me too. And so we'll go through and we'll sweep the floor, we'll dust the little dust bunnies along the wall, and we'll then wonder why there are dust bunnies on the wall, and try to feed them carrots or something. And then we'll go through and we'll do the actual investigation. We'll use the scientific stuff, the scientific research, the scientific experience, and then we will look at the history of the location. Because what we experience, a clean slate, we don't know exactly, okay, so and so died in this, room, or this event happened in this room. And so when we find out that, hey, what they were getting here, well, we got this piece of equipment, it kind of correlates, but then this is what significant situation happened in this room, then that kind of gives a little bit.
You just want to see what you connect with on your own.
Right. And to kind of, after that, understanding exactly what it is, giving that sort of validation through the scientific research, understanding the historical significance of it, and then figuring out, okay, now here's this, now especially on a residential case, on here we are with this situation at hand. How does the person living here, the family living here, or so on, what are they wanting to do? Are they just curious? Are they wanting to know exactly who's there? Are they wanting it removed? And then that's kind of the next step on, how you kind of process, the situation. It's very kind of ebb and flow, if you will. It's very ebb and flow.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's life and kind of the afterlife in general. We do have a question here. How do you block out other people's energies and focus on what is around you when you tap into what energy is in a location itself? So how do you block out the noise?
Well, I will say when you first start out, it can be very, very, very tricky.
Let's try it. No, I'm kidding.
I love it. I'm going to do that the next time. We'll do that. We'll do it at the bash or something. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it took me a very long time to separate myself, if you will, from those at the location, or Again, separating yourself from, different things like that. For me, the biggest thing that I always do from now on, and a good friend of ours, Sarah Lemos, had taught me,
Love her.
was you have to ground down. No matter what it is, you have to ground down, call on to your guides, your spiritual, I call it your spiritual team. Sometimes I'll call it the warfare team, and then people who, it's a whole ball game.
Hey.
And so I'll call on to them, and I will ask them to please protect me against anything that does not serve, any energies that are here at this location that do not have the best intent for the greatest and higher good for myself or those who are on the investigation. And then, of course, there are different things that you can, wear. But ultimately, it comes down to your intention.
I noticed Sarah likes to take her shoes off.
Yeah. If you notice, this is funny. I get made fun of at this at work. Now, I work at a comic book store. That's my day job.
Awesome.
And so a lot of times I get made fun of because I am always wearing flip-flops during like the summer, spring, the fall, always in flip-flops. Like you'll see me at whatever event here in the future, like Penhurst this weekend, I'll be in flip-flops. And
That's funny.
It's because of that where I really like to be grounded. And if there's any way with it, whether it's through your feet or if you're literally just putting your hands through the dirt or, doing whatever it is, your procedure that you do or process that you do.
Licking a battery?
Whatever works. If it makes you charged and ready to go, by all means. But yeah, I mean,
So we do have another question, but before we get to that, you had mentioned going in cold, and MaryLynn likes to do the same thing. However, I want to play the devil's advocate here and say, is it also possible that by not knowing going in, that maybe you could miss key things that maybe the spirits want you to know about that they can't seem to convey? So
absolutely.
So if you go on a team, do you think it's a good idea to at least have one person on that team well-versed in the location? Maybe they don't need to talk about it immediately, but maybe if you key in on something, they can go, well, it just so happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely that there are times where you can miss things, and there are situations. Again, the one residential case that I'm thinking of in specific, it was a situation just like that, where we had went in, we wanted to, Annie with always barefoot. That's funny.
Always barefoot.
We have gone through this. We did the whole process and everything, and it was kind of a live and learn. And I think that's the most important part, is that as you grow as an investigator, as you grow with this. Hi, Kelly. How are you doing, sweetheart?
I like how Kelly doesn't say hi to me. It's cool. No, it's fine. I get it.
This is a key thing, and this is a really important thing that for those watching right now and, who watch back later on, who listen back too, there's no one set way specifically on investigating. And this was a situation in this residential case where it was a live and learn. We're always growing, we're always experiencing different things. And you are absolutely right with wanting to have someone also who can be well-versed in the location, who know a lot more specific about the land, the area, the heritage that's there, and trying to come up with that sort of thing in real time. I think if you're at a case or at a location where you're only there, usually a lot of times we're only usually there maybe one night. But if you are, working on different things, I think that it is a good point to have someone like that, if you're doing that for maybe like a one night sort of thing, in addition to, working on multiple days. Like, again, if you're working on a residential case, sometimes you're there, sometimes, more than, probably more than 10 times. And it was one of those live and learn things where I think that if we had someone there at the time of that first investigation with this specific case that I'm thinking about, that we would have had a lot more answers a lot quicker and a lot more correlation with what we were getting.
Had you had more of the picture, more of the big picture, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So Somebody had asked, in fact, I believe it was Deborah asked about what is the best piece of equipment?
In my personal opinion, I think that the best piece of equipment is yourself. I think you have a good kind of knowledge of what you're experiencing.
What up,
As far as
Stakey?
I just saw that you guys were live on our show last night. I was popping on the comments.
Yeah, we had a blast. It was fun.
It was fun.
But so if you took you out of the equation, what would you recommend? This is what I recommend people to bring. Like for me, hands down, it would be dowsing rods. I absolutely love dowsing rods.
I have never, well, I guess I can't say never. That's not a common one. Why do you say dowsing rods?
So it's because me personally, I have a very good attunement to dowsing rods. They're very active when I use them. So I feel like I have like an instant connection. So, and I like that. I like the fact that I have a connection. I feel like I can communicate better with them. I know some people, they'll say, oh man, I got to have my EVPs. Or they'll say, it's got to be an Estes method. And I love those things, but I feel like I have a lot more control with the dowsing rods.
That makes sense. I can totally see that. And it's cool because again, there are so many different trinkets and like different, tools that are out there. More high-end, stuff that's way beyond my caliber. But
there's tons. SLSs, XLSs.
Right. Which they're very cool and they're very in-depth, they're very cool. And though, the engineers that are working on them and kind of trying to advance them, it's really cool to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Kling brothers had a whole show called the Ghost Lab, which was about equipment,
Yeah.
But to me, I feel like something like that techie, it takes me out of the element, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The interesting part, I had, and this is the irony of it, back in 2011, literally a year after I started doing this, was my first time visiting Gettysburg. And again, for those who have never been to Gettysburg, please be sure to go, even just to go and for the history of it, not even the paranormal aspect of it. Just go
for the black and blue bar. Get the spaghetti grilled cheese sandwich. It is amazing.
A spaghetti grilled cheese sandwich.
It'll blow your freaking mind. And then you could say you had spaghetti in Gettysburg. Spaghettysburg, folks.
For that, yep, that's okay. Mom, if you're still watching, that's we need to have some spaghetti in Gettysburg.
Anyway. Gotta do it.
No, I mean to go there and experience it. I kind of forget where I was going with this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think that the concept of story Gettysburg. So 2011, it was my first time there, and I was walking downtown, and I don't even remember exactly what team it was, but they were sitting outside. I think there was some sort of festival, whether it was like a First Friday sort of thing going on. I don't even know if they did them back then.
Cool.
But we were walking through, and there was a vendor that was selling dowsing rods. And I was like, oh my God, these are so cool. And like the ones that I got were made out of copper. And we all know how, copper is a conduit, of course, of electricity.
Yes.
So it's like, I was so excited to use these. And so I have not, they're in my case still right over here, but I haven't used them in a very long time. So you're going to probably see me using them a lot more now.
I would love that. And here's the other great thing about the fact that you got them in Gettysburg and that they're copper. Who's the face of the penny?
Very true. Very true.
Right? Abraham Lincoln, who gave his famous address right there in Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And the pennies were originally copper.
Yeah.
And I bet you he ate spaghetti.
I don't know. That'd be interesting to know. Sometimes again, I'm a big history buff too. Like I wonder.
At the Black Cat Shop. That's cool.
Things were there. That might have been it. Is that? I can't remember the name.
Is that on? I did go to a shop while we were down there. It was like a crystal shop, and it might actually have been called the Black Cat. But I just remember they didn't have a cat. I think they had a dog.
Yeah.
I don't remember now. Dang it. Bill Walter, what up, buddy? Are you going to be at any other events this year?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, of course, this coming weekend is the Pennhurst Paracon. For those who, of course, do not know, that's going on this weekend. I will just be attending. So if you see me walking around, kind of moseying through and this, that, and the other, stop and get a picture with me. It'll be kind of cool. Don't be afraid to say hi.
Nice.
And then after that, I have the Creep It Real Festival that's happening in Loretto, PA for the Doss House. That is a one-day event. And then after that is actually, well, for work, I'm the assistant promoter for the Hershey Comic Con. So that's coming up with the weekend before the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash.
Really?
Yeah. So
the weekend before, so that would be during Paranormal Rockdown.
I believe so. Yeah.
Dang it.
I know. Nope. So that one, that again is through my job. That one is it's a bigger comic book specific convention. So that's
so
that.
I collect comics.
You do?
I do, but I tend to typically collect just vintage and autographed, and then I get everything graded. So I probably have like 13 or 14, maybe 15 different comics signed by Stan Lee.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's my go-to. So I try to get those, and I actually have one comic. It is I think it's the 2015 special edition, marriage edition of Spider-Man, where he marries Gwen Stacy, and it's by Joe Quesada, and Quesada signed it, Stan signed it, and then his wife signed it.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is super rare because she signs like nothing, and she actually died 2 weeks later after that.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, and then Stan, he died just 6 months after that. In fact, the comic when I bought that comic, I actually got him to sign my first appearance of Doctor Doom in Avengers.
Oh,
which is 25.
So that might have been his first cover. No.
Yeah.
Because
I think it's his first.
Because I know that his first was in FF Fantastic Four #5.
Right.
And so I think in the
it's his first Avengers appearance.
Yes. And that's really cool though. They got him to sign it.
I did. I got him to sign it.
With all of the Doom stuff that's going on, it's definitely yeah.
So that was just like a cool unplanned, and I was like, I just for some reason I was like, this is the one I want him to sign. It's got to be this one. And really cool. I have an Avengers. I think it's #4, the first appearance of Captain America.
Yep.
But I chose the Doctor Doom instead.
But you know what? And that's the cool thing too. Now, and for those who are big into comic collecting and such, that's
obviously cool. Simply looking.
There are first editions. Yeah, there you go. Some first edition Superman. Yep, they can be a little pricey.
What up, Julia? I'm RC.
It's cool to. So again, you have the promoter aspect from having all these different guys come to these conventions. Like we had, so if you're familiar with it, we had Jim Steranko at our show in November.
Awesome.
I had him sign a Supernatural Thrillers #1, which is the first hit.
That's so cool.
And then I had him sign another comic this is a whole story. I had to sign another comic, and because in the back there was a story that was done by Stan, and it mentioned him it mentioned another creator, I think it was Jim Shooter at one point, who is an editor and also a writer and an artist, I think. We had him at a show last year too. And then Don McGregor, who's an artist as well. And so I had him sign it. Oh, Dave, hi. Dave is an awesome guy. He's going to love it too. We're talking about comics there, Dave. Dave's a big Batman fan.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so I had him sign the book, and he's like, I have to ask you, why did you have me sign this book? I didn't work on this book. And so I literally, like, I opened it up and I said, Stan wrote an article that features you when you were, young and starting to get into, a lot of different things and working on a couple different things. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, all right, cool.
But it's cool because a lot of times I say this to a lot of different people that come to the conventions, it doesn't matter what you get signed. If you have something that you really want to get signed by a creator, even at a paranormal event, if you want a TV individual person who's been, on whatever show to sign a piece of equipment or, like my mom, she has her business thing printed on a vinyl sheet and she has pretty much everybody sign the thing that she can,
it's fun.
Whatever makes you happy, get it signed. If you get a return on investment ability with it, great. But you know what, at the end of the day, whatever makes you happy, and that's what's most important.
I got a chance, actually, I think it was at that same con or the next one. I got a chance to meet Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil. So I got him to sign, I think I got him to sign a Daredevil, and I got him to sign, I think, Spider-Man, the first appearance of Daredevil, where he's in the yellow and reddish suit, right? Because I'm a huge Daredevil fan. I always have been. And then, like, the show got canceled, but now it's back. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's all right.
So have you been watching the new Born Again series?
I have been, though I've only seen, like, the first 4 episodes, so I have to finish it. But I made a promise I'd watch him with a friend, but he's a terrible person for not coming over and watching them.
They're not keeping up with you with it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right. So little off topic there, but
that's okay.
I'm a big comic book fan. So, but that actually kind of leads me into one of my next questions. Do you think color plays into the afterlife? In other words, do you think certain colors are seen better or interpreted better by the afterlife, maybe more welcoming, more aggressive, makes them more aggressive, makes it easier for them to communicate, shortens the veil? Do you think color plays into that at all?
I would have to say yes. And
okay.
So each color, now again, we're tying with metaphysics and going back into the woo-woo level. Each chakra, if you will, energy centers, kind of your spiritual organs. Yes, your spiritual organs, they all have different energy frequencies to them, just like sound and just like color. Each color has its own frequency to it. And to me, of course, frequency is just another term for energy. And with it, I think that it really can be conducive to, paranormal research, paranormal investigations. And I think that, for example, like one of the most common colors that you'll see with a psychic or with somebody, if you go to a show and you have a tarot card reader, an oracle card reader, it's always usually purple, blue, or green.
Yeah.
And it's because those colors, of course, purple is one of the most common ones. That ties right to the third eye. That one is probably one of the most, in my opinion, calming colors when it comes to working with the ebb and flow of energy. And so there's that. Blue represents the throat chakra. That represents more fluid-like. So it depends on, and it also depends on the shape too. Just like, if you're into music, if you have a straight note, let's say you have, the note of C, which is, just where most staff notes start. If you have a C sharp, it's going to be a hair higher And then if you go up another level, which is D, you can have D sharp, which is literally just E flat, or you can have D flat,
Yeah.
which is D sharp. So those sort of frequencies have sub frequencies with them, just as if shades were to have them with the colors. And
Okay.
so in my opinion, I think that they really, really, really do affect locations, just as if you have like a fiery red sort of energy. Red is usually tied with the root chakra, with the base chakra. But sometimes if it's that fiery red sort of thing, kind of like with the background we have going on up there,
Yeah.
sometimes it can represent anger, it can represent love. And that's where that interpretation comes in with, the investigator, with the spirit even, of how is their energy and how is their spirit going to interact, and their perception, their interpretation of that color going to dictate the outcome of the energy of what you receive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's great. So then why do so many people in the paranormal field wear just black?
Well, I can't say that any different. It's slimming, Black is
It's true.
slimming.
It is. Black is slimming. I think it's all black's also just I think it's a comfortable neutral color.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm weird. I love color. So like you can see my shoes. Right? So I'm just a colorful person. So to me, it's my personality. So that's just kind of what I project. But I do think. See, Annie broke his clavicle bone.
Oh my.
Okay, I got hit by a dog and broke mine. So I know what he's going through.
Oh boy, that's painful.
Yeah. But it's pretty common. It's a really common thing to break. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. Only like 8 pounds of pure force on the clavicle, and you can break it. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's one of the easiest bones to break. So if you ever attacked, you're assaulted, go right for their clavicle.
Okay.
Yes. Good to know. That or the throat. Fuck them. So we've kind of gone all over the place, but we were talking a little bit about where you were going to be at. So you've got the Comic-Con, Gettysburg. I take it you'll be at the Bash.
Yep. I'll be at the Bash. I will have my cookies. For those who know, I bake cookies.
Booth.
Yes. So I'll have my own table. I usually offer readings. I will have my own paintings too, which I did a couple paintings. They're of course across the room, so I can't show any right now. But I'll have some paintings available.
You bitch.
I know, right? And then I will have some cookies available.
Nice.
I'm trying to figure out what kind to do for the event. But yes, I'll have that.
Chocolate chip, oatmeal, can't go wrong.
I usually do chocolate chip. Always the snickerdoodles are my number one. And then I was throwing around what I like to do.
Don't throw them.
What's that?
Don't throw them.
Oh, I was just gonna go and like whip them like a frisbee to everybody. Just throw them to everybody.
Now that I could get behind.
No, I normally always do snickerdoodles, chocolate chips. I have a newer oatmeal raisin recipe that I kind of have nailed down. The big hit for this past Easter was the peanut butter cup one. I take my peanut butter cookie dough recipe and then kind of morph it with a little bit of the chocolate chip recipe that I have, but then I also tie in like peanut butter and like peanut butter chips and Reese's. And
I don't know what it is. I just don't think I'm old enough yet to classically enjoy a peanut butter cookie.
No,
I know that sounds weird, but my dad, man, he loved peanut butter cookies. And I'm a chocolate chip guy. Just give me a good old fashioned chocolate chip cookie. You can't go wrong. A peanut butter cookie to me, I feel like it's a waste of a cookie. I know that sounds weird, but listen,
to go off of that just for a moment, I'm going to throw you for words. I'm going to throw you in for a real. All
right, my dogs are going crazy.
Chocolate chipless.
Chocolate chipless cookies, or it's just the chocolate. It's just the. It's still the dough of a chocolate chip cookie, just minus the chocolate chips. I'd
Yep.
eat the hell out of that. I really would.
That is my favorite cookie.
Yeah, that's basically a butter flavored cookie, a butter brown sugar cookie, and I'm down for that.
Yep. So
butter is my favorite flavor.
I was debating on having those, just because like Jody Nettles, who I co-host Crossroads on some nights, that's one of her favorite cookies too, if not her favorite. And then I was thinking of having a specialty cookie. I was debating if I wanted to do like s'mores, which that's kind of more intricate, or if I wanted to do like a blueberry and lemon sort of cookie.
You could do like thin chocolate shavings on the top and call it like a pubic hair cookie.
You know what? I'll make them just for you. I'll call it the Mike cookie.
Yes, I'm here for that. If you go to Paranormal Rockdown, you could try my Fruity Bits.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're sweet and sour.
Ooh, okay.
So we're going to be right there next to Bill's Nuts. So it's going to be great. I'm very excited.
Great. Love it.
Are you going to be at anything else throughout the year? Maybe a Rock Island Roadhouse?
I will say that I have kind of, just because of my work schedule, I have not necessarily been able to do as many conventions as I used to. I'm always open to doing more. I am, always looking out for different ones. The only one after that, really, there's another Comic-Con that is in State College, Pennsylvania, that I will be doing. And then there's the Awake Metaphysical Fair that happens in West Virginia that I'll be doing in November. But
that's
other
funny.
than that,
I was talking to an agent, and they had asked me what my ultimate goal was doing this, and I had said I want to get to a point where I have done something that will allow me to do the Comic-Con circuit. Said if I can get to the point where I could go to Comic-Cons and have a booth and have people come and see me for something that I've done, that would just be that's like my ultimate goal.
It's very, honestly, it's very attainable.
I think so, right?
Because again, okay. You have to understand, I look at it from both perspectives of an attendee as well as the promoter. And there are a lot of really cool artists and a lot of really cool people that do go to these conventions, whether they set up as a vendor or if they work out as some sort of deal for, being a guest at a show. It's really cool to have those people come up to you and they recognize your work, or they recognize what you've done, and it's very, you will definitely get to that point if you already are not at that point.
I'm working towards it. If you haven't seen my show, it's called Para with the Normal. Please go check it out. The first 3 episodes right now are completely free, folks. All you have to do is go right to Beacon TV or streambeacontv.com. If you decide you would like to purchase a subscription, which I hope you do, it's only $75 for the entire year. And if you use code Paranorm10, you can save 10%. Not too shabby.
There you go. And I think it's cool too, because, a lot of the different, paranormal personalities too, they're starting to dive deeper into, the comic book world. Of course, we had at the Hershey show 2 years ago, we had Jeremy Leonard, the Cajun demonologist. He was on 28 Days Haunted, as well as Ghost of Morgan City with Sarah. Yeah. And so we had him as a guest at a show, and I can't tell you, it was so cool. Again, from knowing the amount of work, and same thing with you, the amount of work that he put into wanting to, not only just for himself, but wanting to help people, heal people, and then having people come up to him and wanting to say, like, I've been following you for years. It's a really cool feeling. And for him, and the reason why I bring him up too, he's a very good friend of mine. But
Way to brag. That's cool though.
I remember at this show, Of course, normally when I'm working that show, I'm always at the admission table because I'm, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but I'm usually always trying to be there. I had an attendee come up to me, knowing that I was, the assistant promoter, but knowing kind of that I was involved with the paranormal. They thanked me for having Jeremy come in to the show because they always wanted to meet him ever since he was on A Haunting. And right. And so it was really cool to see that. And I had to tell him that. So it's just a cool thing. It's a gratifying thing. So you will get to that point. Absolutely, you will. So
I appreciate that, Mr. Covey.
Absolutely.
So how can people find you? As we've come to the end of the show, tell us how people can find you and follow your journey.
Well, you can always follow me right here on Facebook or on Instagram at Medium John Covey, or on TikTok too. That's kind of the best ways you can reach out to me. You can also visit my website at mediumjohncovey.weebly.com. But yeah, you can always do that. Reach out to me there. I do. Lately, I have only been doing them at events just because of how my schedule is. I work 3 jobs now. So yeah. So that kind of limits me doing a lot of the private readings. But yes, if you see me at events, I do typically do private readings. I do schedule some throughout the year too. So if you're ever wanting to do that, you can always reach out to me there. I do have everything available for everyone.
There you are, folks. And you are right out of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever go up that way, hit up John and see if he'll join you for some spaghetti.
Oh, yes. Spaghetti. Gettysburg. Yes.
Spaghettysburg. It's funny is I actually think I will make that happen when I get down there. I think we'll do a Spaghettysburg event.
That's too funny. You have to you'll have to tell Pam we'll have to have a Spaghettysburg battle of the spaghetti.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'll let Pam know. Pam.
So, but no, I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to come on tonight and to chat with you. It was really cool conversations. I love the questions. And yeah, I just want to, very much so say thank you for having me come on.
Thanks, guys. And thank you for being an awesome guest and for answering some pretty weird questions. But
never weird.
Never weird. I'm going to go ahead and play us off, folks. This works. Hey.